Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. You know, we've been covering the Luigi Mangione case, and Friday, he appeared in court in Manhattan court. And this case is becoming about everything else but the murder of this man you see on the screen, Brian Thompson, who just so happened to be the CEO of United Healthcare. People hate healthcare companies, United Healthcare. I've heard people tell me that don't even watch the show that they despise United Healthcare, that it denies claims, that they know people have had horrific health issues and United Healthcare has denied their healthcare claims. That is horrible. I will agree with that. That is something that no one can say, oh, that's okay. But yet, this case is about one thing. It's about murder. It's a murder case. Put aside United Healthcare. Put aside the why. Someone, and whether you believe it was Luigi Mangione or some other person, someone shot and killed Brian Thompson on December 4th in Manhattan on 54th Street with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun with a suppressor. Someone shot and killed him. He is dead. His family will never, ever see him again. That is what this case is about. Yet, because of the notoriety, because of this young man named Luigi Mangione, who's from an affluent family, who graduated from an Ivy League school, the University of Penn, who made this political. And again, he is innocent to proven guilty. And I'm not trying to try this case right here. You know, I take all kinds of criticism in the chat, but you know something? I'm the messenger here, and I believe certain things, right? And, you know, we discussed the other day, can Luigi Mangione get an impartial jury? And you see in the upper left of this thumbnail here, KFA, we'll call her, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, because I can't, that's a mouthful, these hyphenated married names, you know. Karen Friedman, and then you want to make it the hyphen Agnifilo, KFA. She is sort of, in one way, protesting about the notoriety of this case and whether her client can get a fair trial. But in the other vein, she's buying right into it. They just made a website. A website. The defense made a website. LuigiMangioneInfo.com. And we'll get a little more into the website later, but isn't that also feeding into the frenzy here? The public interest, the media interest in this case? You would think that she'd try to play it down. And don't forget, there's been $500,000 raised for Luigi Mangione's defense in this case. Do you think Karen Friedman Agnifilo, this was earlier on when it was only $300,000. You think she's going to return the money or say don't? No, because on the website, LuigiMangioneInfo.com, is a little thumbnail where you can click on to donate money. So it's both sides of this fence are playing into the notoriety, playing into the public interest. And again, this case is about one thing: murder. This man was murdered. And people, I get venomous people in the chat. That's okay. I'm a cop. I have thicker skin. I'm not trying the case. I'm not trying the case. Luigi Mangione is charged with the murder of this man, all right? He's charged with possession of a firearm. Incidentally, the same firearm that's been matched up to the ballistics on this case was in his possession when he was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I know we're not supposed to say that. That's something called evidence, you know? And then, of course, Karen KFA is objecting to the way he was searched in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And something, I don't know whether that's here nor there. KFA was a Manhattan assistant district attorney for many, many years. She's a very competent attorney. She knows both sides of the fence, so she knows what she's doing. She's also protesting many other things. The fact that you see, this is Luigi Mangione in court. This was on Friday. He was in Manhattan court. You notice he's wearing a bulletproof vest. Karen KFA had to ask if they could take the handcuffs and the shackles off him. And the judge agreed to that while the court proceeding was taking place. However, they put them right back on after the court proceeding was over. And I can't really understand in a high-profile case like this why KFA would object to the fact that he's got a bulletproof vest on. That's only going to protect his life. But I think she's saying by wearing that, he's not going to be able to get a fair trial. There's a lot of hubbub. There's a lot of media. And, one of the things people always protest the media, New York City is the media capital in the world, all right? The media capital of the world. And when I was on the NYPD, I worked in a unit called Manhattan North Homicide Squad. What does that mean? Well, we were the north of Manhattan. Anything that occurred above 59th Street, we went. We were the homicide squad for Manhattan North. Anything that occurred below 59th Street was Manhattan South homicide. Guess what? When something happened below 59th Street, oh my God, call in the National Guard, call in every law enforcement agency on this earth, because it was a huge media event, no matter what. So that is the difference also between, even geographically, the north of Manhattan and the south of Manhattan. And if you ask the police executive whether that's true, they would lie to you and say, oh no, each case gets the same attention, which is absolute bullshit. The other thing is, something happens, a murder happens in Central Park, forget about it. That just blows up it becomes an international story. So this case is huge, not just because of who this perpetrator is, or alleged perpetrator, I have to keep saying. And notice, he's got one of the top attorneys in the city. Her husband, Mark Agnifilo, this KFA's husband, is representing P. Diddy. Like, who cares? But that's the level of attorneys they're at, right? So anyway, folks, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your loved ones. Hold on to your cup of coffee. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone.
There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
KFA has been protesting so much, and this, when she appeared in court on Friday with Luigi Mangione, she couldn't wait to get outside to give her version of what occurred inside the court, because on Friday, cameras were not allowed inside the courtroom. Will that change as this case proceeds? There's a lot of predictions about this case, this was them in court on Friday, this thumbnail you see right there. There's some predictions that this case is going to be taken away from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and it's going to wind up right in the federal court, being prosecuted by the Southern District of New York. Whether that's true or not will remain to be seen. That will not change the representation of Luigi Mangione. This lady right here, KFA, will be representing him along with her law firm. However, what it does change, if the feds prosecute Luigi Mangione, it becomes a death penalty case, because the feds have the death penalty. New York City, New York State does not. So that changes many things. So There's 3 separate jurisdictions looking to prosecute Luigi Mangione at this time. Why? I've never seen this before in my life. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office, who probably should be the prosecution of note, they should be the prosecutors in this case, and then the federal government, the Southern District of New York, the U.S. attorneys. Third prosecutorial district would be Altoona, Pennsylvania. Why are they even involved in this, other than the fact that they stopped him? He was arrested in Pennsylvania. They recovered the gun. They recovered the evidence. That's all great, but they can hand that over to the Manhattan DA's office or to the feds. But why would they prosecute after these jurisdictions have a whack at Luigi Mangione? And again, we don't know what's going to happen. This is uncharted territory right now. This is KFA right after she got out of court on Friday.
Luigi, thanks everybody for being here today. My name is Karen Friedman Agnifilo, and I'm here with Jacob Kaplan and the rest of Luigi Mangione's legal team. My intention was not to give a press conference, not to give remarks, and not to speak outside of court, because I think the most important thing is to speak in court on the record. But since video cameras, the application for a video of today's proceeding was denied, I thought I would give the remarks that I gave in court out here so that the people who are interested in hearing what's happening to Luigi Mangione can hear what's happening to Luigi Mangione. So I'm going to do my best to stick to the remarks that were given.
You know, I find it a little bit strange that what she opened with here was that remarks from Luigi. Like, why does a murderer get to address the public and the press, or an alleged murderer? Okay, he's innocent until proven guilty. I have to always remember that, right? That is our system. I know that, but I have to always say that. But why does he get to address the public, his fans who are, well, do you think KFA is objecting to the $500,000 still growing defense fund? No, she's pumping that up because there potentially could be 3 jurisdictions trying this case that they'll need over $1 million for this defense. So I think it's disingenuous for her to act like, oh, this is a circus. She's playing into the circus. She's part of the circus.
In court. First, I want to start by talking about the fact that Luigi Mangione remains in federal custody, where he is being prosecuted in 3 jurisdictions: by the federal government, by New York State, and by Altoona, Pennsylvania. But he's being held in federal custody, and the Department of Justice has refused to allow him to be in state custody, despite the fact that they've all agreed that the state court is going to go first. Now, this is problematic for several reasons. Number one, the federal government is still considering whether to execute Luigi and considering whether to seek the death penalty. So we are fighting that simultaneously while going first here in state court. And it impacts our ability.
So for those that are in denial that Luigi Mangione is even being charged with murder, you heard his attorney say that the Southern District, the feds, are considering executing him. Okay, just let that sink in, all you folks that want to believe this is about protesting against United Healthcare. No, this is very clearly a murder case in at least two jurisdictions. That's the Manhattan DA's office and the Southern District of New York. And Altoona is not charging the murder. They would charge other crimes. So let that sink in. The feds, the Southern District, it potentially could go for the death penalty. So you folks that are denying that this case is about murder, let that sink in.
Ability to meet with him before court, after court. He's constantly surrounded by law enforcement. He's in shackles. He was wearing a vest today. Some looked like a I don't even know what it looked like, but a very serious vest with his leg.
She knows what it was, and she knows what it is. She was a district attorney for many, many years. She knows what a bulletproof vest looks like. That was a little bit theatrical to pretend that she didn't know what it was or what it looked like.
Shackled and his arms shackled. And so he's being treated differently because he's being held in federal custody than any other person who would be facing serious murder one charges in New York State court. And I made a record in court today that I don't understand what this show of danger is for. When I go visit Luigi at MDC in Brooklyn, I sit with him. He is unshackled. He walks around freely in the visiting area. We sit in a room together without law enforcement hovering over us. But for whatever reason, here, despite all the law enforcement, they need him to be wearing this vest. They need him to be shackled, and they stand right over us, and we get no time with him. So he is being treated differently because of this unusual and frankly, just the fact that he's being prosecuted by 3 jurisdictions for one event. It all is about one thing, one single event. So we object to that. We also,
and that event is called murder. It's a murder, the event that she's referring to. So let's not lose sight of that. But for the people that are in denial about what Luigi Mangione is being charged with, I think it's really important to be clear about this is a murder case. This is absolutely 100% a murder case. So it's not about protesting against United Healthcare. It's not about United Healthcare denying claims. It's about someone, whether it's Luigi Mangione or he's being charged with it. It's about someone getting a gun and shooting, basically executing the CEO of United Healthcare. That's what this case is about. It's not about denial of healthcare. It's not about that. It's about murder. It's about a murder. And I don't know how many times I have to say that because so many people are just they want to see. So many people I see in the chat want to say it's okay that he killed the CEO of United Healthcare because they're an evil company. It's absolutely okay. This is from News Nation.
United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson back in court on Friday. Luigi Mangione making his first appearance since December. You see him, he's wearing a green sweater vest, a bulletproof vest. His attorney says there are, quote, serious issues with some of the evidence in this case. News Nation, Alicia Nieves is joining me this morning. Alicia, you were at the hearing yesterday. Talk us through what happened.
Yeah, so for the most part, yesterday's hearing was largely procedural, but it still did draw a big crowd and a lot of attention, national attention, especially. The man accused, of course, of gunning down a healthcare executive in front of a New York City hotel back in December, walked into court wearing a bulletproof vest, a green sweater, khakis, shackled at his hands and feet. He was, of course, at this hearing for the 11 charges that he faces at the state level for murder and terrorism. Now, this is a note, it was procedural. It was a status hearing where the judge wanted to check in with the prosecutor and the defense on their readiness to go to trial and gave them the chance to go for discovery, the exchange of evidence between both sides. Also at the hearing, as you kind of noted, lawyers for Mangione raising a number of concerns at the pretrial hearing, including their client's ability to get a fair trial, given just the notoriety of this case. They also asked for his shackles to be removed and for Mangione to be moved out of the Metro Detention Center in Brooklyn, where he's currently being held. Now, prosecutors say they have turned over more than 800 gigabytes of evidence, including surveillance video, body camera footage, data from the DNA testing. And while no major decision were made at this hearing, the judge did set some dates for the next hearing to go through motions there. But I got to say, most of the attention, Henna, was outside the court.
Sure.
You had crowds of people there. They had 30 women lined up outside the courtroom just trying to get in. Only 20 were able to get in. And he's been able to raise over $500,000 from supporters around the world. The largest donation, $11,000 from a single person.
So $500,000 in donations for this alleged killer. Amazing. Alicia Nieves, thank you so much.
Of course.
Thanks for watching.
So $500,000. So is this is this about murder or is this about politics? And again, they'll put the thumbnail up on the screen. Trial by media. Is that what this is? In my mind, Luigi Mangione, the case is about murder. It's not about healthcare. It's not about the CEO of United Healthcare. Yes, he was murdered, but this case is not about the politics of healthcare. It's about someone that took upon themselves, and allegedly it's Luigi Mangione has been arrested with this, took it upon themselves to get a gun and shoot in the back the CEO, Brian Thompson of United Healthcare. And for many people, crazy people, I would say, they think that's okay because the CEO of United Healthcare, he turns down requests for claims. He turns them down and his company turns them down. He got executed. There's people upset in the chat. Good for him. He deserved it. I find them to be crazy. This is from Fox News. Paul Morrow, a retired NYPD inspector, very articulate guy. He's also an attorney. I want to play what he had to say in regards to this case.
Morrow. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
So Luigi Mangione was in court yesterday. The guy is charged with murder, and yet groupies turned out. What do you make of this case?
Yeah, he really seems to have become a repository for a lot of different progressive causes that appeal to certain segments of our society, particularly those who are not only anti-insurance agencies, but anti-capitalist. And so, you know, there's no shortage of groups like that here in New York City. So it is a convenient cause for them. And so a lot of them are turning up, trying to voice support, but it works for the defense here because remember, this is the jury pool, and you only need one in order to either hang a jury or maybe force a long determination as to how this thing can turn out. And so one of the things that's going on here undeniably is that some of this is playing out in the media, regrettably.
Mangione's attorneys expressing frustration with the Justice Department. Let's play that.
The Department of Justice has refused to allow him to be in state custody, despite the fact that they've all agreed that the state court is going to go first. Now, this is problematic for several reasons. Number one, the federal government is still considering whether to execute Luigi and considering whether to seek the death penalty.
Is that a legitimate concern or just desperation?
I would argue that it's a little bit of both because this is a very unusual circumstance. I don't recall ever seeing the federal government coming in and going for an indictment, which hasn't happened yet federally, but will. They have a complaint lodged. I've never seen them do that and then say, but we'll step off and state you can go forward. Truth of the matter is you can't have two simultaneous trials. You're not going to have two simultaneous things going on here. At one point, one of them is really going to have to take the back seat. And while the state case appears right now to be the one that's going to go first, I think there's a good chance that that may change. And I think that the feds are going to assert their jurisdiction here. And I think you very well may see all of this go into federal court. But his defense has a little bit of a case here in that he's being held in federal lockup, but he's being right now adjudicated in the state courts, excuse me. So it's a little bit of a strange situation. It's going to get legally very thorny. There are different standards of evidence, et cetera. And at some point here, one of them is going to have to really take a back seat.
Paul Morrow, great to see you. Thanks for your analysis today.
So amazing, that's Paul Morrow, who I says retired NYPD inspector. He's an attorney. He knows, he's been around, and he knows that, the feds, when they want to and if they want to, they'll just grab this case from the Manhattan DA's office. And the power that they can exert, they believe me, they can take this case from the Manhattan DA's office, and the Manhattan DA's office may go kicking and screaming, but all in all, the feds will wind up with this case because it can be kicked up to the highest level. And who do you think is going to side? Who do you think is going to side with the feds, more powerful people than would side with the state, the Manhattan DA's office. So we'll pay attention to that. One of the things, of course, is Karen Ignifilo, KFA, as she's now being referred to as. She is protesting all of these things, but yet I have in front of me, the Luigi Mangione legal defense information. And there's a whole website to this. And as I said earlier, it's luigimangioneinfo.com. And it talks about his attorneys' statements. And, you can click on certain a link and you can contribute. That easy. So who runs this luigimangioneinfo.com? Take a guess. Take a guess who runs it. Yes, his attorneys. His attorneys. So do you think they are protesting against $500,000 and more being donated? They're running it now. So even though KFA is protesting many things, and of course, she's his attorney, she has to be his biggest advocate, has to advocate for him. That's part of her job. But it sort of seems in one way ludicrous to be smashing the NYPD, who did that ridiculously in this thumbnail you see, the huge perp walk when he was first brought to New York. And now you're part of it all. You're part of this whole amalgam of media and keeping it out there and even carrying your own press conference after the court appearance. Is that KFA's role here? Yeah, she's his attorney, yes. But protesting in one hand because it's getting all this media attention, but again, it could benefit you and Luigi Mangione, but will it make it much more difficult for the jury pool to get a fair and impartial jury pool and seat a jury that hasn't seen everything there is to see about this case, because it's been a national and international story since December 4th. And then, of course, the politics of it. And some people are already getting ahead of themselves and saying this could be a case of jury nullification. They haven't even gotten to the hearings yet. Already they're jumping to jury nullification. And for those that don't know, that would be that even though a defendant is guilty, the jury will not vote guilty because they don't agree with what has happened to the alleged perpetrator, the defendant. That would be jury nullification, which apparently happened during the O.J. Simpson case. In the O.J. Simpson case, they could have had video of him murdering them and they still wouldn't have convicted him. So that's what people are worried about in this case. So when they talk about trial by media, Luigi Mangione, it's not about the media. It's not about United Healthcare denying healthcare claims. It's about murder. The murder of Brian Thompson, this man up on the screen. This is a murder case. The person in that video, in the thumbnail to the right, whether that's Luigi Mangione or not, you can't really identify him from that photograph. That's the shooter who murdered United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. So I just don't want to lose sight of what this case is about. And as I said, many people want to make it about something else. They want to make it about trial by media. But yet again, Luigi Mangione has a website. Where he's directly talking to the public. How many defendants in a murder case do that or have their attorneys set up a website so that they can collect money for their defense? None is the answer. None is the answer. So we will keep following this case as it goes forward. Very interesting case, both from a legal perspective and from how it winds up as far as who's going to prosecute this case. Folks, I want to thank all you guys that are subscribers to this show. This is especially for you, this episode. our subscribers, our supporters, our Patreon members, our YouTube channel members. Thank you so much. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.
One episode just ain't enough.